Henry Lawson, poet, journalist and short story writer, is one of Australia's greatest sons. He belonged to an era of pain, social upheaval and triumph of a young country. His work has stood the test of time, with his unique and piercing insights into the lives and characters who laid the foundation of this country, Lawson's Australia.
Fire lighted, on the table a meal for sleepy men, a lantern in the stable, a jingle now and then, the mail coach looming darkly by light of moon and star, the growl of sleepy voices, a candle in the bar, a stumble in the passage of folks with wits abroad, a swear word from the bedroom, the shout of "All aboard!" Get up, hold fast there, and down the range we go, 500 miles of scattered camps. We'll watch for Cobb and Co. Coaching towns already, decaying for their sins, uncounted halfway houses, and scores of 10-mile inns. The riders from the stations by lonely granite peaks, the black boy for the shepherds on sheep and cattle creeks. The roaring camps of Kulgong, and many a digger's rest, the diggers on the Lachlan, the huts of furthest west, some 20,000 exiles who sail for weal or woe, the bravest hearts of 20 lands will wait for Cobb and Co. The morning star has vanished. The frost and fog are gone. In one of those grand mornings which but on mountains dawn, a flask of friendly whiskey, each other's hopes we share, and throw our topcoats open to drink the mountain air. The roads are rare to travel and life seems all complete. The grind of wheels on gravel, the trot of horses' feet. The trot, trot, trot and canter, as down the spur we go, the green sweeps to horizon blue that call for Cobb and Co. take a bright girl actress through western dust and damps to bear the home world message and sing for sinful camps, to wake the hearts and break them, wild hearts that hope and ache. Ah, when she thinks of those days, her own must nearly break. "5 miles aside the goldfield, a loud, triumphant shout. 500 cheering diggers have snatched the horses out. With Auld Lang Syne in chorus through roaring camps they go, that cheer for her, and cheer for home, and cheer for Cobb and Co. Three lamps above the ridges, and gorges dark and deep, a flash on sandstone cuttings where sheer the sidings sweep, a flash on shrouded wagons, on water ghastly white, weird bush, and scattered remnants of rushes in the night. Across the swollen river, a flash beyond the ford. Ride hard to warn the driver, he's drunk or mad, good Lord! But on the bank to westward a broad, triumphant glow. 100 miles shall see tonight the lights of Cobb and Co. Swift scramble up the siding, where teams climb inch by inch. Pause, bird-like on the summit, then breakneck down the pinch. Past haunted halfway houses, where convicts made the bricks. Scrub yards and new bark shanties we dash with 5 and 6. By clear, rich country rivers and gaps where tracks run high, where waits the lonely horseman cut clear against the sky. Through stringy bark and blue gum and box and pine we go. New camps are stretching across the plains. The roots of Cobb and Co.
Henry Lawson was born at Grenfell on the goldfields of New South Wales on the 17th of June, 1867. It was said that as he came into the world, a storm was raging. If so, those first moments were to set the mood for the rest of his life. His father, Niels, or Peter as he was known, was a Norwegian sailor who jumped ship to seek his fortune during Australia's gold rushes. His mother, Louisa, was a talented but strong-willed woman who was later to become a poet and publisher of feminist and political newspapers. Like her son, she was to fight passionately for her beliefs and was at the forefront of the suffragettes' struggle for women's rights in Australia. Soon after Henry's birth, the Lawson family left the goldfields to set up farm in Urundari. But conditions were harsh on the land, and it wasn't long before they were back trying to scrape an existence on the diggings. The Gulgong goldfields attracted thousands of miners from every walk of life, all looking for their El Dorado. Overnight, shanty towns were born from makeshift bark huts and rough tents. The frantic search for the precious metal brought migrants from around the world. A few found the dream of instant wealth. Some died looking for it. Some returned home. They all shared one thing in common. They lived through a remarkable and unique time in Australia's history. But those times were hard, and eventually Peter Lawson was forced to the conclusion that the goldfields were no place for him and his family, and they returned to Urundari. The gold rush characters passed through in their tens of thousands on the way to the diggings. Young Henry absorbed the images of that passing parade, images which were to form the foundation of much of his writing. He saw the diggers with the dreams in their eyes, the bullock drivers with their teams, and the hawkers with their wares of pots and pans, and of course the swagmen, Australia's unique nomads, whose ranks he was later to join himself. Henry Lawson's boyhood makes sad reading. There was little laughter in his childhood home. His luckless father was often away in search of work, leaving his wife to cope with outback loneliness. When together, the parents quarreled bitterly, which tore apart the soul of their sensitive son. Despite this, the happy moments of his boyhood occasionally shine through in his work.
The breezes waved the silver grass, waist-high along the siding, and to the creek we ne'er could pass, 3 boys on bareback riding. Beneath the she-oaks in the bend, the water-hole was brimming. Do you remember yet, old friend, the times we went in swimming? The days we played the wag from school, joys shared and paid for singly. The air was hot, the water cool, and naked boys are kingly. With mud for soap, the sun to dry, a well-planned lie to stay us, and dust well rubbed on neck and face, lest cleanliness betray us. And you'll remember Farmer Kutz, though scarcely for his bounty. He leased a 40-acre block and thought he owned the county. A farmer of the old world school, that men grew hard and grim in. He drew his water from the pool that we preferred to swim in. And do you mind when down the creek his angry way he wended, a green-hide cart whip in his hand for our young backs intended? 3 naked boys upon the sand, half buried and half sunning. We've had some scares, but we look blank when resting there and chumming.
Hey, you kid!
One glanced by chance along the bank and saw the farmer coming, 3 startled boys without their clothes along the paddocks running. And home impressions linger yet, of cups of sorrow brimming. I hardly think that we'll forget the last day we went swimming.
Henry Lawson's schooling was short, often interrupted, and lasted only 3 years. He never learned to spell properly or grasped the basic rules of grammar during his days in a rough bush school. He later wrote,
"It was built of bark and poles, and the roof was full of holes, and each leak in rainy weather made a pool. The walls were mainly cracks lined with calicos and sacks. There was little need for windows in the school."
The shy and sensitive Henry was picked on by the other students who thought him odd, delicate, and girlish. They taunted him with the name of Balmy Harry. A short illness left him severely deaf. This further hindered his education and was to worsen in later years. It turned out his mother, Louisa, was to chart his course, for it was her obsession with literature which rubbed off on young Henry. At night she would read Charles Dickens, Edgar Allan Poe, and Henry's favourite, Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. He devoured every word and wished he could be a castaway, alone on an island, with solitude as his Man Friday. By 1883, Henry Lawson, now aged 16, sensed the roaring days on the goldfield were coming to a close. Railway lines and the telegraph were bringing the city closer to the bush. The land had surrendered to man's new machines, and there were rapid social changes sweeping the country. He later went on to remember those times in a poem, The Roaring Days.
The night too quickly passes, and we are growing old. To let us fill our glasses and toast the days of gold, when finds of wondrous treasure set all the south ablaze, and you and I were faithful mates all through the roaring days. Oh, those golden days are vanished, and altered is the scene. The diggings are deserted, the camping grounds are green. The flaunting flag of progress is in the west unfurled. The mighty bush with iron rails is tethered to the world.
As the gold rush days came to a close, so too did the Lawsons' marriage. Wearied by the harsh and lonely conditions of the outback, the restless Louisa had decided to move to Sydney with her children to pursue political and literary ambitions. Peter stayed on until his death in 1888. In Sydney, Henry became an apprentice coach builder and later a house painter. In his spare time, he wandered the streets, studying the endless parade of passers-by. The despair and poverty were to be etched into the future poet's mind. Spurred on by his findings, his youthful idealism was to be further fueled by the Republican riots in Sydney in 1887. The Republicans wanted to follow the American example and throw off the yoke of England. At the age of 20, Henry's first published poem, The Song of the Republic, appeared in the Bulletin, a national journal. It was soon followed by the wreck of the Derry Castle, about a shipwreck off the coast of New Zealand, which claimed 16 lives. The poem was preceded by an editorial note which showed recognition for young Henry's extraordinary talent. Encouraged by the editor of the Bulletin, J.F. Archibald, Lawson became a regular contributor to that journal and was paid at the going rate of a penny a line. At the age of 21, he was to capture the public's imagination with the appearance of Faces in the Street. The emotional impact of the now immortal verse brought the nation to its feet, and Lawson, the writer, almost overnight, became a household name.
They lie, the men who tell us for reasons of their own that want is here a stranger and that misery's unknown. For where the nearest suburb and the city proper meet, my windowsill is level with the faces in the street, drifting past to the beat of weary feet, while I sorrow for the owners of those faces in the street. And cause I have to sorrow in a land so young and fair, to see upon those faces stamped the marks of want and care. I look in vain for traces of the fresh and fair and sweet, in sallow, sunken faces that are drifting through the street, drifting on to the scrape of restless feet. I can sorrow for the owners of the faces in the street.
Soon driven by the same restlessness that cursed his mother, Henry began his wandering, first to the West Australian goldfields and then to Brisbane as writer on the magazine Boomerang, where he wrote under the pen name of Joe Swallow. But the journal went bankrupt and ceased publication. As always, he returned to Sydney, disappointed and broke. During this time, he got together with a contemporary poet, A.B. or Banjo Patterson, the author of the now famous Man from Snowy River and Waltzing Matilda. Together they hatched a scheme whereby they would appear to have a poetical duel in the Bulletin. Banjo would extol the virtues and beauty of the Australian outback, while Lawson would highlight the misery and suffering of bush life. This not only put money in their pockets, but produced some classic poetry. As the people's poet, Lawson sided with the poor who suffered injustice in a legal system biased against them. He delighted readers when poking fun at the courts and their officials.
This court is now in session. All rise. Be seated.
James Patrick O'Hara, the Justice of Peace. He bossed the PM and he bossed the police. A parent, a deacon, a landlord was he. A townsman of weight was O'Hara JP. He gave out the prizes, foundation stones laid. He shone when the governor's visit was paid, and twice re-elected as mayor was he. The flies couldn't roost on O'Hara JP. Now Sandy McFly of the axe and the saw was charged with a breach of the licensing law. He sold after hours whilst talking too free on matters concerning O'Hara JP. And each contradicted the next witness flat, concerning back parlours, side doors and all that. 'Twas very conflicting, as all must agree. You'd better take care, said O'Hara JP. But baby, the barmaid who evidence gave, a poor timid darling who tried to be brave.
Don't be afraid,
Now don't be afraid if it's frightened you be. Speak out, my good girl, said O'Hara JP. Her hair was so golden, her eyes were so blue, her face was so fair and her words seemed so true. So green in the ways of sweet women was he, that she jolted the heart of O'Hara JP. He turned to the other grave Justice of Peace and whispered, you can't always trust the police. I'll visit the premises during the day, and I'll see for myself, said O'Hara JP. 'Twas early next morning or late the same night. 'Twas early next morning, we think would be right, and sounds that betokened a breach of the law escaped through the cracks of the axe and the saw. And Constable Doggety out in the street met Constable Clancy a bit off his beat. He took him with finger and thumb by the ear and led him around to a lane in the rear. He pointed a blind where strange shadows were seen, while pantomime hinting of revels within. Well, drop on my fly if you'll listen to me and prove we are right to O'Hara JP. But Clancy was up to the lay of the land. He cautiously shaded his mouth with his hand. Wisht, man, hold your wisht, or its ruin will be. It's the Justice himself. It's O'Hara JP. They hissed and they wished and turned themselves round and got themselves off like two cats on wet ground. agreeing to be on their honour as men a deaf and dumb blind institution just then. Inside on a sofa, two barmaids between, with one on his knee was a gentleman seen. And any chance eye at the keyhole could see, in less than a wink, 'twas O'Hara, J.P. The first in the chorus of songs that were sung, the loudest that laughed at the jokes that were sprung, the guest of the evening, the soul of the spree, the daddy of all was O'Hara, J.P. And hard cases chuckled and hard cases said that baby and Alice conveyed him to bed. In subsequent storms it was painful to see those hard cases side with the sinful J.P.
Now in session, all rise. Be seated.
Next day in the court when the case came in sight, O'Hara declared he was satisfied, quite. The case was dismissed. It was destined to be the final case of O'Hara, J.P. The law and religion came down on him first. The Christian was hard, but his wife was the worst. Half ruined and half driven crazy was he. It made an old man of O'Hara, J.P. Now young men who come from the bush, do you hear? Who know not the powers of barmaids and beer, don't see for yourself, from temptation steer free. Remember the fall of O'Hara, J.P.
During the 1890s, Henry was caught up in the growing tide of socialism and reform. He was now living a bohemian lifestyle in the haunts of artists and writers, which was to bring him to the shadow of his storm, alcohol, his eventual downfall. In 1892, his benefactor, J.F. Archibald of the Bulletin, sent him on assignment to find at first hand new material and to shake him out of his drunken ways. With only £5 in his pocket, Lawson set off to tramp the bush tracks. He spent the best part of a year walking hundreds of miles through the Australian outback. Like no one else, Lawson wrote about what the harsh conditions could do to the scattered people who defied the odds to survive. These communities were made up of hardy individuals and families who battled to make a living. Time and again they were put to the test when they rallied to fight their common enemy, Mother Nature. Long spells of merciless summer sun drove living creatures literally mad with the heat, while frequent droughts drained the land of its life-saving water. The wind became a curse, whipping up huge dust storms which blew the precious topsoil away. But the most feared of all was the bushfire, whose flames left black paths of death and destruction. And as Lawson often saw, the bushfire battles produced some unlikely heroes.
Oh, better the thud of the deadly gun and the crash of the bursting shell than the terrible silence where droughters fought out there in the western hell. And better the rattle of rifles near or the thunder on deck at sea than the sound most hellish of all to hear of a fire where it should not be. On the runs to the west of the dingo scrubs there was drought and ruin and death, and the sandstorm came from the dread northeast with the blast of a furnace breath. Till at last one day, at the fierce sunrise, a boundary rider woke and saw in the place of the distant haze a curtain of light blue smoke. There is saddling up by the cockie's hut, and out in the station yard, and away to the north, northeast, northwest, the bushmen are riding hard. The pickets are out, and many a scout, and many a mulga wire, while Bill and Jim, with their faces grim, are riding to meet the fire. It roars for days in the hopeless scrubs, and across where the ground seems bare, with a cackle and hiss like the hissing of snakes, the fire is travelling there. Till at last, exhausted by sleeplessness and the terrible toil and heat, the squatter is crying, "My God, the wool," and the farmer, "My God, the wheat." But there comes a drunkard who reels as he rides, with the news from the roadside pub. Pat Murphy, the cockie, cut off by the fire, way back in the dingo scrub. Let the wheat and the wool shed go to... Well, they do, as each great heart bids. They are riding a race for the dingo scrub, for Pat and his wife and kids. And who is leading the race with death? An ill-matched three, you'll allow? Flash Jim the breaker and Boozing Bill, who is riding steadily now. And Constable Dunn of the Mounted Police is riding between the two. He wants Flash Jim, but the job can wait till they get the Murphys through. As they strike the track through the blazing scrub, the trooper is heard to shout, "We'll take them on to the 2-mile tank if we cannot bring them out." A half-mile more, and the rest rein back, retreating, half-choked, half-blind. And the three are gone from the sight of men, and the bushfire roars behind. The bushmen wiped the tears of smoke, and like bushmen wept and swore. Poor Bill will be wanting his drink tonight, as never he did before. And Dunn was the best in the whole damned force, says a client of Dunn's with pride. I reckon he'll serve his summons on Jim when they get to the other side. It is daylight again, and the fire is past, and the black scrub silent and grim, except for the blaze of an old dead tree or the crash of a falling limb. And the bushmen are riding again on the run, with hearts and with eyes that fill, to look for the bodies of Constable Dunn, Flash Jim and Boozing Bill. They are found in the mud of the 2-mile tank, where a fiend might scarce survive. But the bushmen gather from words they hear that the bodies are much alive. There is swearing Pat, with his grey beard singed and his language of lurid hue, and his tough old wife and his half-baked kids, and the three who dragged them through. Old Pat is deploring his burnt-out home, and his wife the climate warm, and Jim the loss of his favourite horse, and Dunn his uniform. And Boozing Bill, with a raging thirst, is cursing the dingo scrub. He'll only ask for the loan of a flask and a lift to the nearest pub. Flash Jim the breaker is lying low. Blue paper is after him. And Dunn, the trooper, is riding his rounds with a blind eye out for Jim. And Boozing Bill is fighting DTs in the township of Sudden Jerk. When they're wanted again in the dingo scrubs, they'll be there to do the work.
The experiences he gained on his trek stimulated what many regard as the most artistic and fruitful period of his life. He lived and worked with the shearers in their sheds and heard their tales of woe. He witnessed the cruelty of a country which left women and children fending for themselves, while the men were away for months at a time, droving mobs of cattle. At night he sat round the campfires with the swagmen or roustabouts and learned what made them laugh and cry. He discovered their many different reasons for tramping the outback. Most were just lost souls in search of food and water, chopping wood and doing odd jobs in return for temporary shelter. Some were looking for the great adventure, and armed only with their billies and swags, many found it in the great dry plains of the Never Never, the green forests of the mountain country, or the rugged coastline around the world's largest island. The billy is a lightweight tin can with a wire handle used for making tea or boiling water. The swag is a roll of blankets carried on their backs, containing personal belongings which usually amounted to no more than spare tattered clothing, old pipes and tobacco, or a picture of a loved one, a souvenir of another life left behind. Some left to escape the indignity of the soup kitchen and charity. All wandered, and their common bond was mateship. They knew how hard the country was, especially for someone on foot. Their lives were spent walking vast open plains dotted by towns few and far between. Their main worries were their next meal and whether their boots would last the day. All these experiences brought the swagmen or roustabouts close together when by chance their paths crossed, a welcome break in their long spells of isolation, and a time to gather news around the campfire. Already no stranger to solitude, Lawson understood how these true characters of the outback felt in their search for another tomorrow.
A rouseabout of rouseabouts, from any land or none. I bear a nickname of the bush, and I'm a woman's son. I came from where I camped last night, and at the day-dawn glow I rub the darkness from my eyes, roll up my swag, and go. Some take the track for bitter pride, some for no pride at all. But to us, all the world is wide when driven to the wall. Some take the track for gain in life. Some take the track for loss. And some of us take up the swag as Christ took up the cross. Some take the track for faith in men. Some take the track for doubt. Some flee a squalid home to work their own salvation out. Some dared not see a mother's tears, nor meet a father's face. Born of good Christian families, some leap headlong from grace. Oh, we are men who fought and rose, or fell from many grades. Some born to lie, and some to pray. We're men of many trades. We're men whose fathers were and are of high and low degree. The sea was open to us, and we sailed across the sea. And were our quarrels wrong or just, has no place in my song. We seared our souls in puzzling as to what was right or wrong. We judge not, and we are not judged. 'Tis our philosophy. There's something wrong with every ship that sails upon the sea. From shearing shed to shearing shed we tramp to make a check. Jack Cornstalk and the ne'er-do-well, the tar boy and the wreck. We learn the worth of man to man, and this we learn too well. The shanty and the shearing shed are warmer spots in hell. I've humped my swag to Borley Plain, and further out and on. I've boiled my billy by the Gulf, and boiled it by the Swan. I've thirsted in dry lignum swamps, and thirsted on the sand, and eked the fire with camel dung in Never Never Land. I know the track from Spencer's Gulf, and north of Cooper's Creek. I've tramped and camped and shore and drunk with many mates out back, and every one to me is Jack, because the first was Jack. A lifer sneaked from jail, at home, the straightest mate I met, a ratty Russian nihilist, a British baronet. I know the tucker tracks that feed, or leave one in the lurch, the Burgoo Presbyterian track, the Murphy Roman Church. But more the man and not the track, so much as it appears, for battling is a trade to learn, and I've served 7 years. We are haunted by the past at times, and this is very bad. And so we drink till horrors come, lest, sober, we go mad. So much is lost out back. So much of hell is realised. A man might skin himself alive, and no one be surprised. A rouseabout of rouseabouts, above, beneath regard. I know how soft is this old world, and I have learned how hard. A rouseabout of rouseabouts. I know what men can feel. I've seen the tears from hard eyes slip as drops from polished steel. I learned what college had to teach, and in the school of men by campfires I have learned, or say unlearned it all again. But this I've learned, that truth is strong. And if a man goes straight, he'll live to see his enemies struck down by time and fate. We lend and borrow, laugh and joke, and when the past is drowned, we sit upon our swags and smoke and watch the world go round.
Although Lawson's Outback Odyssey helped his writing, it did little for his drinking. Possibly because the local pub was a central feature of all bush communities, and the characters he sought could always be found there. In 1894, Henry returned from tramping around New Zealand and met Bertha Brett. After a short courtship, they married. But the tragic history of Lawson's childhood was to repeat itself. The newlywed Bertha found herself living in a tent in the West Australian goldfields. Her husband, struggling to find work, was frequently turning to the bottle to seek relief from his increasing depression. Upon their return to Sydney, Bertha persuaded Lawson to move once more to New Zealand. In 1897, he was employed as a school teacher in a remote Maori school in the South Island of that country. The experiment failed, and a year later, after the birth of their son, they were back in Sydney. His drinking habits grew worse, and in 1898, Lawson spent the first of many spells in a home for alcoholism. Then, seeming to regain control of himself, Lawson and his family set off for London in 1900 with their newborn daughter. It was a quest for international recognition. For a short time, it looked like he'd found it. He was writing prolifically and his works were being published. But the depressive clouds of despair gathered once more for Lawson, and the family returned to Australia in a pathetic condition. This was the beginning of the end. The year was 1902, and at the age of 35, his mind and body racked by alcohol and depression, Lawson attempted suicide by jumping off a cliff. Like his marriage, the attempt failed. He was by now a pathetic, bitter, broken man. In the following years, he was to spend a total of 159 days in jail for non-payment of maintenance to his wife and 2 children. In these days of darkness, it's certain his downfall would have been complete. if it had not been for the gentle care and devotion of an elderly lady, Mrs. Byers, who had befriended him. She was to feed and care for him for the rest of his life. Despite his personal misfortunes, he continued writing, mainly poetry. But his use of alcohol as a refuge continued, and in 1908 he was admitted several times to a mental hospital for treatment. In the following years, Lawson's flame of creation was reduced to only a flicker. He used his verse to express his tangled emotions. He was tormented by regret, disappointment, and lost opportunities, and a longing to revisit the past. His writing became a mirror of himself.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Nice day. Anything I can do for you?
Yeah, you can tell the old man there's a chap wants to speak to him for a minute.
Old man? What old man?
Hake. Old Ben Hake, of course. Ain't he in?
Hake ain't here now. I'm here.
How's that?
Why, he sold out to me 10 years ago.
I suppose I'll find him somewhere in the town.
I don't think you will. He left Australia when he sold out. He's dead now.
Dead? Old Ben Hake?
Yes. You knew him then?
Ah, you better give me £50 a nail rod. I suppose young Hake's in town?
No. The whole family went away. I think one of the sons is in business in Sydney now.
I suppose the McLaughlins are here yet?
No, they are not. The old people died about 5 years ago. The sons are in Queensland, I think. And both the girls are married and in Sydney.
Ah, well. See, you got the railway here now.
Oh, yeah. 6 years.
Things has changed a lot.
They are.
I suppose you could tell me where I can find Jimmy Nowlett?
Jimmy Nowlett? Jimmy Nowlett? Oh, never heard that name. What was he?
He was a bullock driver. Used to carry from the mountains before the railway was made.
Before my time, perhaps. There's no one of that name around here now.
Well, I suppose you knew the Duggans.
Yes, I do. The old man's dead too, and the family's gone away, Lord knows where. They weren't much of a loss, to all accounts. The sons got into trouble, I believe, and went to the bad. They had a bad name here.
Did they? Well, they had good hearts. At least old Malachi Duggan and his eldest son had. You could give me a couple of pounds of sugar.
Right. I suppose it's a long time since you were here last.
15 years.
Indeed.
I suppose I don't remind you of anyone round here?
No. Can't say you do.
Ah, well. I suppose I'll still find the Wiles living in the same place.
The Wiles? Well, no. The old man's dead too.
Oh, but where's Jim? He ain't dead.
No, he's married and settled down in Sydney.
Did you? I suppose you knew Mary. Mary Wild.
Mary? That was my wife's maiden name. Would you like to see her?
No, she mightn't remember me. Oh, I must be getting on.
I suppose you'll camp here over Christmas?
No, there's nothing for me to stop here. I'll be getting out onto the track again. I did intend to spend Christmas here. In fact, I came a long way out to the road o' purpose. Wanted to spend one last Christmas with Ben Hake and the rest of the boys. I didn't realise they'd gone so far west. Old Bush school is dying out. Things has changed. Ours is just the same. The signs need patching and painting just the same as ever. And that old paling fence that me and Ben Hake and Jimmy Nell had built 20 years ago. I've tramped and travelled a long time since then. Oh well. But I'll be getting on. Gotta be getting out to the track again. It's cooler travelling at night.
Yeah, it's been pretty hot today.
Yeah, it was. So long.
G'day. Merry Christmas.
Eh? Oh, yeah. Same to you. So long.
G'day.
The Lawson of the 1890s did not surrender to the mellowness of age, but to confusion. His most prominent feature, his deep-set dark brown eyes, no longer glowed, but reflected the emptiness of the helpless. But he was still one of Australia's most popular and influential writers. In 1914, a movie based on one of his poems, Trooper Campbell, was produced by one of Australia's film pioneers, Raymond Longford. It was the story of an outback policeman who tracks down the wayward son of the woman he once loved. The boy had joined a gang of bushrangers, but the trooper successfully appealed to the better side of the outlaws to let the boy return home, thereby saving him from a life of crime. Other stage plays and movies based on his work followed. In 1916, through the influence of his friends, Lawson gained employment with the government, writing articles on an irrigation project. For a time, his health improved, and this was reflected in his writing. But by 1920, Henry Lawson was again admitted to hospital for alcoholism. His friends who had been supporting him had seen him reduced to begging in the streets and began agitating for a government grant to save Lawson from further indignity. Much of this side of his life was kept from an adoring public who revered him. When mentally and physically up to it, he could be seen walking the streets of Sydney, a figure almost Chaplin-esque, with his hat, walking stick and distinctive limp, a legacy of his failed suicide attempt. He took great pleasure in the company of the working class and the poor, especially the street urchins. He understood their suffering. He knew it well. In 1921, he was again hospitalized, this time for a brain hemorrhage. He knew the end was near. On the 2nd of September, 1922, in a cottage at Abbotsford, Sydney, Henry Lawson penned his last lines. A nostalgic piece about his time in London, 20 years earlier. The manuscript indicates he was forced to stop by an uncontrollable shaking of the hand. Lawson's body was found beside his bed. He was 55 years old. The announcement of his death sent the nation into a state of grief. He was given a state funeral with full honours. Henry Lawson had written his way into the hearts of countless Australians. He is still a towering giant of Australian literature. It's easy to show up the weakness of Lawson's nature and his work. But he deserves to be honoured for his genuine Australianism. Literary critic H.M. Green later wrote, "If we were set the impossible dream of finding some single book to represent Australia, it would have to be one of Lawson's. For an Australian to read him in another country is to breathe the air of home."